And I said, I'm doing a massive rewrite, and it's so interesting, so exciting that I would like to create a video about it, or maybe write a book article about it. And he asked me, what is a rewrite? I didn't see that coming. And to be honest, it's quite a good question, which I would like to answer. So let's dive in with examples. One of the first rewrites I ever had to do was with a company who had the product and wanted to move from agency, who built the software for them, to own developer team. The problem was they didn't own the code. The agency owned the rights to the code. So they either would pay a hefty release fee, or they will have to rewrite everything from scratch. Or actually, developers will have to do that. And therefore, the second scenario is better. In most cases, it isn't. And that's for some different video. We'll come back to that. But we did it. We did it. We write everything as it was. Not necessarily, because rewrites aren't always one-to-one. But we rewrote it and it delivered. It was doing the same thing. And then another thing happened. We had an investor and we had to integrate with their system. So while our new code was good to work with, we could build on it, we had to rewrite bits of it that had to talk to the new services. How to do that? Because that will be happening more and more in the next examples. And the most common one is in the startups. What's happening in the startups? People are rushing. They want to create MVP, minimum viable product, to give to investors as soon as possible. What we end up with is a cluster of totally random things, mess code, spaghetti everywhere, everything mixed, happening every time. Usually myself or my team comes in and we had to clean up. We split it, we rewrite it. In one company, we had some Messenger. It has a web interface in a browser. So we had to divide that from the rest of the code, rewrite it from we did it. Everything was fine until the environment changed a little bit. We had a pivot and business came with new requirements. And we found out that this framework is not fit for purpose. It's not flexible enough anymore. We had to investigate and we had to retrain the whole team in React. And that was a good choice. It lasted for a very long time, except quite similar, like in the first example, there were bits where it wasn't working. We had new requirements at this point anymore, at least these bits. So one thing it's repeating over here is in rewrite, we had to start from the beginning to the end on a whole software or on some bigger chunks, functionalities. We had to rewrite them completely, which is different to refactoring when we are reshaping the code to make it cleaner, to make it easier to maintain, but we're not totally rewriting, we are reshaping, reorganizing that. Both things are part of paying legacy debt. There are places where you have a friction with a business. Business people, possibly you may not understand why developers are doing that. And they're doing it to be able to build, to iterate, to maintain what they are delivering to you. But there are some cases where rewriting actually can save effort. In other company, we were building games, and those games were very similar to each other. My brilliant boss, amazing boss over there, he said, take those games and rewrite them. But this time, they should be white label. I made a white label game engine that his artist could just skin, add some adventure, add some story to that, and he could resell that. And the same thing we did in other agency with custom-made CMS. The CMS was made for the client for very specific cases. To achieve that, we had to rewrite everything from the scratch, delivering the same features we were already selling and we had in previous implementations. But this time, we'd added extra power. So again, it wasn't one-to-one for quite practical reasons. Sometimes you have to do rewrite because technology is not more maintained. You can't hire for that. It's not secure anymore. And it's not easy just to reshape things anymore or update dependency. You have to start from scratch. Coming back to the first example, when the rewrite isn't 100% what was before, it's not necessarily the bad thing. Usual case is you build some admin panel or some UI, so user interface. Business or some stakeholders, designers are used to how the things look like. But then you find a library on a shelf out of the box that have very similar buttons, very similar input controls. And you can use them. You don't have to maintain them. You don't have to build those buttons, and it will save a lot of time in the future. People inside company may be very hesitant to do that, but the users wouldn't care. Actually, they may be even excited seeing small refreshment that your application is a bit more modern, but giving the same features, the same workflows. What business usually is afraid when it comes to rewrites, and the same refactoring, But rewrites are more scary because they seem a big chunky parts of work is a blocking pipeline. They're afraid that you stop doing things and you wouldn't be able to add new features, new improvement, bug fixes. So there are many ways to optimize that, and I will be very happy to discuss that in the details. We can dig into things like how to monitor changes, how to slow roll, how to trial, how to migrate your users, how to split your migration and your rewrite to manageable chunks. And why I feel quite confident about that? I spent over 20 years as a developer. I rewrote a multitude of software in different companies, startup, enterprise, whatever. I even wrote a book for people who want to start their career in IT, and I do feel confident about that. And the topic is deep. Imagine now the dream scenario. You rewrote everything. Now no bigger changes happening. You want to move on. Actually, what's happening is